Hello everyone, my name is Tego and welcome to Storytime. Today's story is part 6 of A Tale of Two Friends. In the last video, we had Neisha and Cleo begin their journey to find their families. So, what will happen in this story? So today, part 6, Into the Fire. They followed the stream, eating and drinking whenever they had the chance. They had no idea where they were going, but they were in a better mood now. They had both learned to drown out the constant hums around them. At one of their stops, Neisha took the time to ask Cleo, Neisha just yawned and shook her head. She nestled her head around Cleo's neck, smiled. Cleo smiled and closed her eyes too. They both slept. Cleo woke up to a fire that was underneath her. The sun had moved across the sky, and the shade that was once over them was now on the other side of the grass, over the water. Cleo glided up as quickly as she could. Neisha's black fur had soaked up the sun's rays and now was very hot. The sudden motion caused Neisha's head to slide off Cleo's back and thud onto the floor, causing her to wake up too. Neisha said to no one in particular. Before standing up, she was still half asleep, and the added heat was enough to keep her in a sleepy stupor. She clumsily moved down towards the stream, her feet wobbling as she walked over the grass and onto the stones. Her paws stepped onto one particularly slippery stone, and her legs gave out from underneath her. She fell and slid over the rocks and into the stream's cooling water, waking her up instantly. She stood up from the shock of the cold water, shook her head, and bent over and took deep gulps of water. Cleo, who had followed her to the water's edge, bent over and took some small gulps. Neisha, seeing Cleo distracted, used her snout and splashed water onto her. Cleo feigned a little annoyance, but she couldn't resist the cold water's feeling on her fur and jumped into the water, splashing it all over Neisha. She did the same thing too, and they played along the stream together. After Cleo caught some fish and they ate again, they started moving along the stream. The sun was a lot higher now, and Cleo's curiosity got the better of her. She looked at the shadows that were cast in the trees. How long does it take for the shade to go from here to there? She pondered. We couldn't have stepped for that long, could we? Ruff! Neisha said, breaking her concentration. Cleo looked to face Neisha. She responded. She motioned with her head, started to walk up the slope. Cleo followed her. Cleo stopped a little bit before the edge. She told Neisha as she sat down, clearly shaking. Neisha continued up the slope. Trying not to get noticed, she peered over the edge. Neisha closed her eyes and sniffed the air. She opened her eyes to see that the lights were directing her in a direction that they didn't want to go. Neisha moved back down the slope. Cleo asked her. Neisha shook her head. She said worriedly. Cleo took a deep breath. That was not what she wanted to hear. She moved up the slope and peered over the edge. She tried to count the boxes as they zoomed by, back and forth, but there were too many of them, and her eyes started to get a little bit tired. She shook her head, took another deep breath, opened her eyes, and let the boxes blur out in front of her. She looked across the path. Something was there. Trees? But how? She thought. And more importantly, how do we get there? The trees pulled her to them, and without noticing it, Cleo had moved up the slope and strayed onto the path and into the way of the boxes. She heard a loud, deep hum in her thoughts before a high-pitched scream pierced her concentration. She snapped out of her daze and turned to see a box heading towards her, with clouds coming out of it. There was a sharp pain around the scruff of her neck, and a force yanked her from the incoming box. She watched in slow motion as the box screeched past her, with clouds filling the air. The box stopped right in front of her. Without warning, a loud crunch was heard, and the red box was pushed away by a blue box, and then by another white box. Neisha said, heading down the stream. Cleo screamed back. She watched as the monsters started to get out of the boxes and fill the path. She yelled, and she ran, not waiting for Neisha. Neisha's heart started to pound heavily. She turned around and started running. She looked at the monsters now present along the path. They were all in a daze, and they were talking to each other. A rich iron smell started to fill the air, along with a smell that she had never smelled before. A smell, while disgusting, made her happy. Her mind slowed with each breath that she took. She shook her head, which made the world blur. She said to herself. She took a deep sniff of the air and looked for the honey smell of Cleo. The purple thread lit up through the crowd of monsters. She followed it, weaving and ducking between the monsters and the boxes. Cleo yelled out to Neisha. Neisha stopped in her path, just in time to see a green box zoom by. Clouds coming from it too. That was a close one, she thought. She had forgotten to use her sight to move along the path. Neisha shook it off, and this time, using her sight, searched for more than the purple stream. She looked for the boxes. They were no longer going at the fast speed that they once were. Most of them were slow. She took the opportunity to run along the boxes and watched as the boxes would slow down as they passed the stationary boxes. Counting her steps carefully, she timed it and ran across the first set of boxes. Neisha yelled out. There was one more row of boxes left. This one too had boxes that were moving slowly. She sized it up and realized they were going a bit faster than the lane before, but slower than the pace that she could run. She sped up and ran across again to Cleo, who was waiting on the other side. Cleo kissed Neisha when she got there. She said, and they ran together to hide amongst the trees. And that concludes today's part of the story. Join me next week when we see what happens to the two of them. Until then, have a good week, and I'll see you next time on Storytime. Goodbye.